The kingdom of Nordravel had always been a land of long winters and long memories. Snow lay on the stone roofs like forgotten stories, and the wind carried secrets from one ruined tower to the next. Once, wolves had ruled beside humans, blessed by the moon's old magic. Now, only the broken pieces of that age remained, old ruins, old fears, and a curse people spoke about only in whispers. But Lyria Arden walked through the cold streets with her head down and her heart steady. She had no time for old fears. Not when she was about to do something that could ruin the last bit of safety she had left. Her mother's ring, silver, delicate, carved with a fading moon, rested warm in her pocket. She touched it again and again, as if her mother's hand might rise through the metal and guide her. Just one night, Lyria whispered. Just one brave thing. The guards at the fortress gate barely looked at her. A humble healer girl carried little importance in a kingdom preparing for war. She kept her steps small, her breath quiet. The deeper she moved into the fortress, the heavier the air became, as if she were walking into the chest of some sleeping beast. At the bottom of the stairs lay the dungeons, a place she had only heard described with trembling voices. People said the walls listened, that they kept the memories of those trapped here. She pushed the heavy door open. The lanterns gave off a dim orange glow, enough to reveal stone corridors stretching into darkness. Lyria swallowed, and forced her feet to move. Find him, before the king does. Everyone in Nordravel knew about the prisoner kept in the deepest cell, the one they called the Moonless Beast. A shifter, an alpha, a creature born under a cursed sky. They said his power once broke half a forest. They said his eyes saw through lies and hearts alike. They said he never bowed. No one knew his real name. Lyria had no wish to meet a creature like that. But fate, or perhaps something older, had pushed her toward this path. The day she found her mother's journal and discovered a truth she never expected. Her mother once tried to save the Alpha, and now you must finish what she started. The dungeon air grew colder as she reached the final hallway. Only one torch burned here, small and shaking, as if frightened of the dark around it. The cell at the end was wrapped in thick iron bars, inscribed with faint runes. A shimmering veil like frozen fog covered the entrance. Spellbinding chains. Lyria's breath trembled. She had seen nothing like it. Behind the runes, a tall figure sat against the wall. Wrists and ankles locked in glowing chains. His head rested forward, long dark hair shadowing his face. At first, she thought he was asleep, but then his voice, low and rough, filled the space. You should not be here. Lyria froze. The figure lifted his head slightly. Eyes the color of silver frost stared at her bright even in the darkness. Warm and cold at the same time. What do you want, human? His tone was calm, but it carried a weight that pressed against her chest. I'm not here to harm you, Lyria said, surprised by how small her voice sounded. I'm here to free you. A faint, humorless breath escaped him. Free me? Many have tried. None returned. I am not like them. No, the Alpha said softly. Lyria's fingers tightened around the ring. This is all I have left of my mother, she said, trying not to let her voice shake. She believed it held magic stronger than its size. She trusted it. And I trust her. The Alpha tilted his head. The runes on the bars flickered, sensing her intent. You would use your family's last relic for a stranger? He asked. Lyria hesitated, because the truth was, she didn't know him. She only knew he wasn't the monster they claimed he was. The writings in her mother's journal said as much. My mother wanted to help you, she said. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, slowly, he straightened his back. Even seated, his presence filled the cell, like a quiet storm gathering strength. I do not know your mother, he said, but I feel her courage in you. Lyria stepped toward the bars. The runes pulsed brighter, sensing her magic. "How do I undo the binding?" she asked. His eyes softened. "You must give the ring to the spell. Trade its power for my freedom. But doing so creates a bond. A bond. A thread between you and me," he said, voice low. Lyria's heart beat faster. "What kind of bond?" He looked at her for a long moment, silver eyes steady. "Destiny's kind." Her breath caught, but she nodded. "If it saves you, I accept it." The Alpha studied her face, as if searching for any doubt. When he found none, something gentle flickered behind his guarded expression. "Then come closer." Lyria lifted the ring in her trembling hand. The metal felt warmer than before, as if it knew what was coming. "Place it on the runes," he said quietly. She pressed the ring against the bars. At first, nothing happened. Then light. Soft at first, like moonrise. The runes drank in the glow of the ring, one by one waking up along the bars, along the walls, along the chains wrapped around the Alpha's body. The air pulsed with energy that felt almost alive. Lyria gasped as a breeze brushed past her, though the dungeon had no windows. The ring began to melt not with heat, but with light. Threads of silver spun outward, wrapping around the bars like tiny stars. "Do not fear," the Alpha whispered. "It is choosing." "Choosing?" The bars cracked. The shining fog dissolved like breath in winter. Lyria stumbled back as the ring burst into a final flash of white light and vanished. Gone. Her mother's last gift. Her last piece of home. She pressed a hand against her chest, fighting a wave of grief. The chains binding the Alpha shattered, turning into harmless dust. He slowly stood. Lyria had expected him to roar or break the cell apart. But instead, he simply stepped forward, steady and quiet, as if unsure he was truly free. His hair fell across his face until he brushed it back, revealing a calm expression etched with something unreadable. He stepped past the fallen bars and stopped only a few feet from her. Up close, she saw he was not frightening at all. Strong. Yes. Intense. But there was a tiredness behind his eyes. A loneliness she recognized instantly. "You gave up something precious," he said softly. Lyria swallowed. "It was the only way." "Not the only," he murmured. Something warm brushed the air between them like a thread of unseen light connecting their hearts for a single heartbeat. Lyria felt it. Sharp and sudden, like an echo of the magic from the ring. Her breath caught. The Alpha inhaled sharply too. "The bond," he whispered, more to himself than her. "It has begun." "What does that mean?" Lyria asked. "It means our paths are tied," he said gently. "From this night onward." Before she could speak again, distant footsteps echoed through the corridor. Guards. Lyria's stomach dropped. The Alpha's expression changed, sharpening with quiet resolve. "You cannot stay here," he said. "Neither can you." The footsteps grew louder. He looked at her, really looked, and something almost protective flashed in his eyes. "Lyria," he said, her name rolling from him like a vow. "I owe you my life. And I will not let the world take yours." Her heart skipped. "How do you know my name?" She whispered. His gaze softened. "Your mother once spoke it in a prayer." And the magic remembered. Before she could breathe, he stepped closer, lowering his voice to a hush. "You freed me. Now I free you." The torchlight flickered as the air changed, thick with something ancient. Lyria looked into his silver eyes full of secrets, sorrow, and something else she did not yet dare name. "What are you?" she whispered. His answer came like a promise wrapped in warning. "I am your bond. And you are my fate." The guards' voices shouted down the hall. But in that moment, Lyria knew nothing in her life would ever be the same again. Cold wind swept across the outer courtyard as Lyria and the Alpha stepped into the night. The moon hid behind wandering clouds, as if watching them with quiet curiosity. Snowflakes drifted in slow circles around them, soft and harmless. Yet Lyria felt her heart beating, as if the sky itself were trembling. Kael, the name she now silently gave him, though he had not spoken it, moved beside her with steady grace. His steps were quiet, almost too quiet for someone who had spent years locked away. It was as though the earth itself recognized him and softened beneath his feet. "Stay close," he said in a calm, low voice that carried more warmth than command. "The night is wide, but your path should stay near mine." Lyria nodded. They walked along the shadowed side of the wall, avoiding the glowing lanterns near the towers. Lyria kept her cloak wrapped tight around her, not because of the cold, but because her heart felt too exposed. The bond he spoke of in the dungeon still pulsed faintly between them, like a soft thread stretching from her chest to his. She didn't understand it, but she couldn't deny it was there. Every time she stole a glance at him, her breath caught. His silver eyes reflected the faint moonlight, bright even in the dimness. There was strength in him, yes, but a gentleness too. Something quiet, something tired, something searching for a reason to hope again. "Are you in pain?" she finally asked. "Your chains, those bindings, they must have hurt." "I am not in pain," he said softly. "But I am not at full strength either. Your sacrifice freed me, yet the magic has not settled." "What does that mean?" "It means the bond is shaping itself, between you and me." Lyria's steps slowed. "What is this bond exactly?" Kael looked forward, snow gathering lightly in his hair. "Most call it a soul mark. A mark of destiny. It is old magic. Older than kingdoms, older than names. When someone gives a part of their heart to save another, the magic listens. It links them." "So I am linked to you?" Lyria whispered. "Yes." He paused, then added, "But it does not trap you. It does not force you. It only makes our paths aware of each other." She touched her chest, where a soft warmth lingered beneath her skin. "Then why does it feel so strong?" "Because fate rarely whispers. It speaks clearly when it chooses." Lyria did not know how to answer that. She wasn't sure she believed in fate. She believed in hope, in kindness, in choices. But destiny? That felt too large. Still, she couldn't deny the warmth that moved through her whenever he looked her way. They slipped through a narrow passage behind the fortress gardens, moving into a small grove of bare winter trees. The branches swayed gently, making soft music that calmed her nerves. Kael stopped beside an old stone well and turned toward her. "You are shivering," he said. "I'm fine," she whispered. He studied her for a moment, then quietly removed his cloak and placed it around her shoulders. It was heavy and warm, carrying a faint scent of pine and forest wind. She felt her face grow warm. "You do not need to do this," she murmured. "I do," he replied gently. "You helped me when I had nothing. Let me offer at least this much." Lyria tightened the cloak. "Thank you." Kael's expression softened, but he looked away quickly, as if afraid to let the moment linger too long. They continued walking until the fortress faded behind them. The path opened into wide snowfields, with small, distant lights, villages scattered across the hills. "We should reach shelter before dawn," Kael said. "The magic in your ring was powerful, but the bond it left behind needs time. You may feel tired soon." "Why me?" Lyria asked suddenly. "Why did the magic choose me?" Kael slowed. The snow glowed under the soft moonlight as he turned toward her. "You carry something rare," he said. "A gentle courage. A heart that chooses compassion even when the world does not show you any. Magic listens to that." Lyria blinked. "My mother said kindness was a strength, not a weakness." "She was right," Kael said with quiet certainty. "And she passed that strength to you." The words filled Lyria with a warm ache. She missed her mother more than she admitted. Losing the ring felt like losing her again. But when Kael saw her expression fall, he spoke softly. "The ring's power lives on," he said. "Not in the metal, but in what it chose to protect." Lyria met his eyes. "You, and you," he said simply. For a moment, the world felt still, as if the snow paused in the air around them, as if destiny held its breath. But the calm didn't last long. A faint sound drifted through the distant shapes, moving across the snow. Kael glanced toward them, his gaze steady but unsure. "The night is not harmful, but we should keep moving." Lyria nodded and followed him toward a small rise in the land. The path curved downward, leading to a valley where an old stone watchtower stood tall, abandoned, touched by frost. When they reached it, Kael placed a hand against the door. The wood, though worn, opened easily beneath his touch. Inside, the air was cold, but still. "There is a shelter room upstairs," he said. "We can stay there until morning." Lyria climbed the stone steps, her hand brushing the rough wall to steady herself. Her heart felt heavy and full at the same time. The room at the top had a broken window but a solid roof. Moonlight spilled across the floor like pale silver cloth. Lyria settled near the corner while Kael stood near the window, watching the quiet world outside. She finally spoke. "You said my mother prayed for me once. What did she say?" Kael's shoulders lowered slightly, as though remembering something gentle. "She said you were her light," he answered softly. "Her reason to keep hope, even when her own strength faded." Lyria closed her eyes, the words warming her from the inside out. "And she said," Kael continued, in a quieter tone, "that if destiny ever crossed our paths, I should protect you." Lyria's eyes opened. "She knew you?" "Not fully," Kael said. "But she sensed my presence once, many years ago. She believed our paths would meet again. And tonight, her belief became truth." Lyria felt tears rise, but she brushed them away. "Thank you for telling me," she whispered. Kael stepped back from the window and sat across from her, giving her space. The moonlight painted soft silver on his hair and softened his features. For someone with such a large presence, he seemed strangely gentle now. "You're not what people say you are," Lyria said quietly. His brows lifted slightly. "And what do they say?" "That you're a danger, that you're a curse, that you don't feel anything." Kael's expression changed, something like sadness flickered across it, but only for a second. "I feel," he said softly. "More than most understand. That is why I hold my distance." Distance from what?" "From the world," he murmured. "From people. From connections. Because when I care, the weight becomes too heavy." Lyria's heart pulled toward him, gentle and steady. "You don't need to run from care," she said. "Not with me." Kael inhaled slowly, as though the words struck somewhere deep within him. "That is the problem," he whispered. "The bond pulls me closer, even when I fear being close." Lyria looked at him. "You don't need to fear me." "It is not you I fear," he said. Their eyes held each other. The air between them filled with quiet, unspoken truth. Suddenly, Kael pressed a hand to his chest and drew a slow breath. Lyria leaned forward. "Kael?" "The bond," he said, voice low and uneven. "It's growing faster than I expected. Is it hurting you?" "No," he said, shaking his head gently. "It's overwhelming. I have been alone a long time. This connection, it feels like a part of me I forgot." Lyria reached out, touching his sleeve lightly. "You're not alone now." Kael looked at her hand, then at her face. His eyes softened in a way that sent warmth flooding through her. He breathed one quiet sentence that shifted the air around them. "Lyria, I am afraid to lose this." "You won't," she whispered. He closed his eyes briefly, steadying himself. But when he opened them again, the silver glow had deepened, soft, luminous, almost otherworldly. The soul mark is choosing, he murmured, and once it chooses fully, neither of us will be the same. Lyria's heart thumped, not with fear, but with something warm and bright. What happens next? She whispered. Kale looked at her, and his expression held something like awe. We let destiny speak, he said quietly. Outside, the moon drifted free of the clouds, shining full and clear through the broken window. Inside, the space between them glowed with quiet magic. Morning arrived softly, with pale sunlight touching the stones of the old tower. Snowflakes rested on the edges of the window like tiny crystals, shimmering quietly. Lyria woke to the hush of the early light, her eyes drifting to the corner where Kael sat, still and calm, as if he had been watching over her the entire night. He looked peaceful in the morning glow, almost human in his weariness. Yet something ancient lingered beneath his quiet posture. Lyria sat up slowly, wrapping his cloak tighter around her shoulders. You didn't sleep, she murmured. Kael turned his head slightly. I rest differently. I listen. I watch the sky. I let the bond settle. His eyes softened. Did you sleep well? I... Yes, Lyria said, surprised to realize it was true. Despite everything escaping the fortress, freeing a legendary alpha, discovering a strange magical bond last night had brought her the most peaceful sleep she had felt in years. Thank you for staying nearby. I promised I would protect you, he replied simply. The warmth in her chest returned. Kael, what happens now? He rose gracefully, brushing a bit of frost from his shoulder. Now we travel to the ruins of Ulverin. Ulverin? Lyria echoed. Why? Because the answers you seek and the past I can no longer hide wait for us there. Lyria stood, tightening her boots. Then we should go before the roads become busy. Kael nodded, but his eyes held a quiet hesitation. You understand that the bond will grow stronger the closer we get to the ruins. Will it harm us? Not harm, he said softly, but reveal truths. Truths about me, about you, about your mother. He looked away for a moment, as though steadying his thoughts. And truths about destiny. Lyria stepped closer. I want to know. I'm not afraid. Kael's silver eyes met hers, warm and searching. But even as he said it, his expression softened, almost hopeful, almost relieved because she wasn't afraid. They left the tower and walked into the fresh morning air. The world was quiet but not empty. Distant cottages sent thin trails of smoke upward, and snowbirds hopped between branches. The path toward Ulverin wound through forests, each tree tall and still, as if they bowed their heads respectfully when Kael passed. Lyria watched him as they walked. Even in silence, he seemed connected to the world around him. Animals stayed calm in his presence. The wind followed him like an old friend. Snow seemed to fall more gently when he stepped beneath it. Kael, Lyria said. What was Ulverin? His voice was steady, distant. My birthplace. And the heart of the wolves' ancient kingdom. She blinked. You were a prince? Kael gave a faint, almost shy smile. A prince once. An alpha heir. Until the curse fell. Lyria walked slower. You never told me you were royalty. It does not matter now, Kael said. Ulverin is nothing but stone and silence. My people scattered. The world forgot our name. Lyria looked ahead thoughtfully. But your memories didn't. No, Kael said quietly. Some memories never leave. They continued along the snowy path until the forest grew denser, with tall pines stretching high into the sky. The air around them felt thicker, filled with something Lyria couldn't name, old magic, perhaps, or echoes of past lives. Softly she asked, Kael, what happened to your kingdom? Quote. Kael's steps slowed. His voice shifted, deeper, touched with old sorrow. A shadow grew in the land. Not a creature, not a war, something more like a forgetting, a fading of who we were. My people lost their unity. Our bond to the moon's blessing weakened. I tried to hold us together. He paused, then added softly, but I failed. Lyria's heart ached. You didn't fail. Something powerful must have caused it. Kale looked at her with gentle eyes. You speak with kindness again. Because it's the truth, she insisted. He breathed in slowly, as if accepting her belief gave him strength. They walked until the trees opened into a wide clearing. At the edge of the forest, tall stone pillars rose like ancient guardians. Snow gathered in their carvings. Symbols glowed faintly beneath the frost spirals. Moons, wolves, stars. Lyria felt her breath catch. Is this Ulverin? She whispered. Kael nodded. What remains of it? The ruins stretched before them. Broken arches, stone halls half buried in snow, old fire pits now cold. But beneath the silence, Lyria felt a soft pulse, like a heartbeat deep within the earth. This place is alive, she murmured. It remembers. Kael stepped forward, touching a carved stone. Our history was carved into these walls. Our hopes, our mistakes. Lyria walked beside him, her fingers brushing the stone gently. A soft warmth spread through her hand. It feels familiar, she whispered. Kael turned toward her, a calm knowing in his eyes. Because your mother was here once. Lyria's heart stilled. Yes, Kael said. She came searching for guidance. When she learned, she carried the blood of a moon priestess. Lyria's breath trembled. My mother, she never told me. She wanted to protect you, Kael said gently. Your bloodline carries a gift, one that can awaken the old magic, the same magic that once ruled this land. Lyria stepped back slightly, overwhelmed. I'm just an ordinary girl. No, Kael said softly. You are extraordinary. Even if you don't see it yet. The bond between them pulsed gently, warm and reassuring. They walked through the ruins until they reached a circular stone platform. The center held a broken pedestal, covered in runes glowing faint blue beneath the snow. Kael's expression shifted soft but uneasy. This is where it began, he said. My curse, my failure. Lyria turned toward him, gentle but firm. Tell me. Kael lifted his gaze to the sky, where the pale sun shone through thin clouds. I was chosen to be leader before I was ready. I tried to unite the clans, to keep peace, to protect our traditions, but I made mistakes. I trusted the wrong voices. I pushed away the ones who cared. And when the kingdom weakened, the land's magic withdrew. The blessing of the moon faded. Our people lost their strength. He looked down, a quiet sadness in his eyes. Some say the kingdom's fall was my fault. Do you believe that? Lyria asked softly. Kael hesitated. Sometimes. Yes. Lyria stepped closer, her voice gentle but steady. Kael. No kingdom falls because of one person, and no curse stays forever. Not if you try to heal it. His eyes softened. You believe there is a way. I do, she said. Magic listens to hearts. And your heart, Kael. It is not broken, only burdened. He looked at her for a long moment, as though her words were stitching something inside him back together. Before Kael could speak, a soft wind circled the platform, carrying faint whispers like old voices waking from sleep. Lyria shivered. What is that? The ruins recognize you, Kael said quietly. They sense your bloodline. Light rose from the runes beneath their feet, gentle, not frightening like moonlight reflected in water. Lyria felt her heart race, but not in fear. The light wrapped around her gently, as if welcoming her. She felt warmth, spread through her chest, through her hands, through the bond connecting her to Kale. "This is the truth," Kale said in a soft, breathless tone. "Your mother was right. You carry the magic of the Moon Priestess. You can awaken what was lost." "And you?" Lyria whispered. "What does this mean for you?" Kale looked at her, really looked, his eyes filled with something that made her heart tremble. "It means I am no longer alone on this path." Lyria stood closer, feeling the bond settle like a quiet flame between them. But just as the moment deepened, the air shifted. Soft footsteps approached from the western edge of the ruins, gentle, quiet, not threatening, but deliberate. Shadows moved between the stones, figures stepping into view. Lyria's breath hitched. "Kale." Kale's expression turned thoughtful, not fearful. Not enemies, but not allies either. A group of robed elders appeared, carrying staffs carved with ancient runes. Their eyes glowed, faint blue, reflecting the light of the ruins. One of them stepped forward, gazing deeply at Lyria. "The priestess returns," he said in a calm, echoing voice, "and the Alpha walks beside her." Kale stepped slightly in front of Lyria in a protective way. "We seek guidance. You will receive it," the elder said. "But guidance comes with truth." "And truth," he paused, eyes shifting between them, "may change everything." Lyria felt the bond pulse warm and steady, but uncertain. Kale's hand hovered near hers, close but not touching, as though he wanted to reassure her but wasn't sure if he should. "Lyria," he said softly, "whatever they reveal, we will face it, together." The elders exchanged knowing glances. The runes glowed brighter, and destiny prepared to speak. The ruins of Ulverin glowed with a soft blue light, like a sleeping memory waking from a long dream. Lyria stood at the center of the stone platform, snow swirling gently around her feet. Kale stood by her side, calm but alert, as the elders formed a circle around them. The air hummed with old magic, the kind that remembered everything. Lyria felt the warmth in her chest deepen, soft, steady, almost like a hidden heartbeat responding to the ruins themselves. She looked at Kale. His eyes held calm strength, but also quiet worry. "Whatever they tell us," she whispered, "we face it together." Kale nodded once. "Always." The eldest among the robed figures stepped forward. His hair was white as frost, his eyes glowing faint blue. "Child of the Moon Priestess," he said gently, "you stand where your mother once stood. She came here, searching for truth. And today, that truth returns to you." Lyria's heart tightened. "I want to know everything. Please tell me." The elder smiled softly, as if he had waited many years for this moment. "Your mother," he began, "was a guide of light. She carried the old magic in her blood, the magic that once balanced the kingdom. But she sensed a shadow growing in this land. She feared the fall of Ulverin long before it happened." Lyria exchanged a glance with Kale. He listened with quiet intensity. The elder continued. "She met the Alpha heir Kale when he was still young in spirit. She sensed in him a great heart, but also a heavy burden." Kyle lowered his gaze slightly, absorbing the words. "She believed," the elder said, "that the Alpha and the Priestess would one day heal the kingdom together. But destiny shifted when the kingdom grew weak, and your mother left Ulverin to protect you." Lyria's breath trembled. "She didn't want me caught in the fall." "Yes," the elder said gently, "but she also left knowing that one day, your path, and Kale's path, would cross again." Kale lifted his eyes slowly, and Lyria felt a warm pull in her chest. Gentle, reassuring. "What does this mean for us now?" she asked softly. "What is happening to the bond?" The elders exchanged thoughtful looks. Finally, the eldest spoke again. "The bond is not a chain," he explained. "It is a calling of two hearts. It forms only when sacrifice awakens destiny. You gave something precious of your own heart to save KL. And KL, in turn, has carried a heart that searches for healing. KL's voice was quiet. But the soul mark, it grew without my control. That is because it is not meant to be controlled, the elder said. It responds to truth, not fear. KL lowered his eyes, unsure. Lyria touched his arm gently. KL, you didn't choose the bond in the darkness of that cell, but you choose what you do with it now. KL. His eyes softened. And what if I choose wrong again? You won't, she whispered. Not anymore. A soft breeze moved through the ruins, brushing the stones, lifting strands of Lyria's hair. The runes around them brightened, responding to the connection between them. The elders stepped back, giving space as if they sensed a change in the air. The eldest elder raised his staff. Lyria, child of the priestess, your presence reawakens the power of balance. And Kale, alpha of the old blood, your heart carries the strength to restore what was lost. But to lift the shadow from this land, you must stand together. Not by duty, not by fate alone, but by choice. Lyria felt her heartbeat quicken. Kale looked at her, the silver in his eyes deepening. What must we do? Lyria asked softly. Speak your truth, the elder said, and let the bond seal what your hearts decide. The ruins quieted. Even the wind held its breath. Kale turned fully toward Lyria. Snowflakes drifted between them like slow-falling stars. His expression held both strength and longing, both fear and hope. Lyria, he said, his voice low and gentle, I have carried the weight of a fallen kingdom for so long. I thought I was meant to walk alone, to stay distant, so I would not cause harm. But you remind me that strength is not loneliness. It is trust. Her eyes softened. Kale, you gave your mother's ring, he continued, not because you knew me, but because you believed in the goodness of someone the world misunderstood. You saw me in a way no one else ever did. He stepped closer, slow, careful, respectful. And now I see you, he said. Not as fate's answer, not as a chosen priestess, but as someone I want to protect. Not from duty, but from my heart. Warmth bloomed inside Lyria, spreading through the bond like quiet sunrise. She stepped closer too. Kale, I don't know if I can heal a kingdom. I don't know if I can be what the elders expect. You do not need to be anything you are not, Kale said gently. You only need to be yourself, your kindness, your courage. That is the magic the kingdom lost. Her eyes shimmered. And you? What path will you take? Kale's voice softened even more. I choose to walk beside you. Not ahead, not behind. Together. The bond glowed faintly between them, soft, silver light around their hands, their hearts, the space where they stood. The elders watched silently, approving. Lyria breathed out slowly, warmth filling her chest. Kale, then I choose you too. Not because destiny whispers, but because my heart does. Kale's expression broke into gentle awe, as if her words lifted something heavy off his shoulders, something he had carried for far too long. Light shimmered across the ruins, rising from the stones beneath them like soft moonfire. It flowed around their feet, swirling upward in gentle spirals. Lyria felt her hand drawn toward Kale's, slowly, softly guided not by force, but by the natural pull of the bond. Kale hesitated only long enough to make sure she wanted it. She did. Their hands touched, and the ruins erupted in soft, glowing light. The snow glowed like stars shaken loose from the sky. The stones hummed with old magic returning. The air shimmered with warmth. The elders bowed their heads. The curse is lifted, the eldest whispered. Not by power, but by unity of heart. Kale closed his eyes, as though finally able to breathe freely. Lyria watched the light rise into the sky like a gentle beacon. She felt peace settle in her chest, a peace that belonged not just to her, but to the land around her. The old kingdom awakened quietly, like a dream returning. Kael opened his eyes and looked at her with soft wonder. "Thank you," he said, "for believing in me when I did not believe in myself." Lyria smiled. "We believe in each other now." They stood there, hands joined, surrounded by soft blue light and falling snow, as the magic of Ulverin settled into the earth once more. The elders stepped forward again, their voices warm and approving. "Alpha Kael," the eldest said, "you may lead again not as a ruler of fear, but as a guardian of balance." Kael bowed his head respectfully. "I accept." "And Lyria," the elder continued, "you walk the path of the priestess, not as one who carries burden, but as one who brings light." Lyria's heart warmed. "I will do my best." "We do not ask for perfection," the elder said kindly. "Only truth." As the magic faded gently through the ruins, Kael turned to Lyria again. "You brought back the heart of this kingdom," he said softly, "and you healed something inside me I thought would never mend." She smiled up at him. "And you gave me courage I never knew I had." The sky cleared above them, revealing the full round moon bright and peaceful, no longer hidden or silent. Kael looked at the glowing sky, then back at her. "Lyria," he said, voice full of steady devotion, "whatever the future holds, I choose you, and I will stand with you, as long as this moon lights the path." Lyria squeezed his hand. "I choose you too, Kael." And the moon shone even brighter, sealing their promise.